Today, we are going to watch an old man yell at clouds. The old man's name is Claven, and I have no earthly idea who he is, but apparently he's pretty big, so we're going to watch it for that reason alone. The clouds in question are, of course, atheists on TikTok. This video is called These Atheists Are Too Smart for Their Own Good, so let's check it out and see why he thinks so.
I don't know if you were watching the Super Bowl, you might have caught that ad about Jesus, He Gets Us, where they showed people washing the feet of abortionists and gay married people and all that stuff. So we thought that...
Was that Steve Bannon? Also, He Gets Us, directed by Quentin Tarantino.
That was so moving that I'm a Christian, so what I'm going to do is mock atheists. So we're going to watch, these are TikTok videos where people explain why they're stupid enough to think the universe just came out of nowhere without the action of God. I don't know how they found these people. It's very hard to get an IQ that low, but we'll take a look.
Already off to a fantastic, phenomenal, mutually respectful start.
Respect for every single religion except for atheists.
Atheism is not a religion. There's no moral code, no ritual traditions, and it doesn't require faith. The Big Bang did happen, cosmic inflation is a thing. You'd be hard-pressed to find a natural phenomenon that science can't explain. Also, don't be so quick to say that you have respect for every single religion, because that would also mean that you have respect for the religion known as the Followers of Christ Church, a group that routinely denies medical care to their sick and dying children, choosing instead to pray to their God for their recovery. Their church's graveyard is littered with the headstones of children ranging from 1 day to 1 week old. So are you ready to sit there and tell me that you respect them too?
No, absolutely not. I only respect one religion, the right one, the good one, the one that's true.
And how do you know that? How do you know it's the right one? How do you know it's the true one? Is it because the book says it is? Because that's not really how you prove that. Also, what's with the random clip here? I don't understand.
Amen! But the idea, when you say there is a Big Bang, by the way, an idea that was first come up with by a priest, because the other stories of creation were not in keeping with what he thought Genesis said, so he...
That is not true. It had nothing to do with Genesis. He was a scientist. That's science, not creationism.
Postulated that there was a Big Bang, and that turned out to be the one that most scientists now accept. But the thing that the Big Bang doesn't explain is where the stuff that went bang came from. Gotcha! Where...
What does that mean, where the stuff that went bang came from? It wasn't like a large amount of stuff went bang, boom, and it was just like here. That's not how that happened. Has this guy ever read a book on the Big Bang? Does this guy know like the first thing about the Big Bang? Normally they try to harp on like, well, where did the Big Bang come from? What caused the Big Bang? But this guy's taking like a different tack, and it's a much sillier one, I think.
Where did that come from? And how come it all worked out so well for the production of life? And how come...
I would say it didn't really work out that well. After all, I am sitting here staring at your face and listening to you speak. For me, at least, it didn't work out very well at all, in fact.
Jesus exists. I've got you there, my friend. So I did like the supercilious tone, though. You only get that from atheists. You know, Christians tend to be humble. They sort of understand that they're sinners, they're broken. You know, the real true Christians, they tend to be, you know, understand that we're all sort of in this kind of soup that...
Oh, yeah. I mean, what was that humble line he used a second ago?
No, absolutely not. I only respect one religion, the right one, the good one.
Can you feel it? Can you feel the humble, everybody?
That Jesus gets us out of. But the atheists, they have that smugness, that superciliousness that just makes you want to take their nose and twist it around. So that is an advantage that atheists have, if you want your nose.
Man, this guy has a lot of, like, violent thoughts, doesn't he? This does seem to be like one of those dudes who's like, you know, all about being a big macho boy, you know, I'm big and tough, and I don't take nothing from nobody. I'm a big, strong guy. I'm so big and tough. It's just silly, dude. Come on, you're like 80, man. Chill out.
Twist it around. All right, let's hear another.
Here are 3 logical reasons why not believing in God, aka Sky Daddy, is actually beneficial. Number 1, that God only exists inside of your mind and is a reflection of how you see yourself. So how judgmental you perceive this God to be is how judgmental you are. Which leads us to number
Definitely like a 1-to-1 correlation with Claven here.
2, that it reinforces believing that thoughts are the truth, which is literally the experience of hell. Your thoughts about yourself, about reality, are always f***ed. They're never, ever, ever the truth. And number 3, if you get triggered when someone says Sky Daddy doesn't exist, you're pretty fragile. And it's funny because if it is an all-powerful, all-knowing being, why the does he need you to defend him?
I love the certainty, people with faith, they have faith because they know that they don't know, but they have become convinced and they take the little leap of faith past the axiomatic truths that lead them.
Clavin, listen, my guy, listen, my man, my dude, my friend of mine. I hate to break it to you, but do I need to go back to that one line again? I only respect one religion, the right religion. That implies a pretty good degree of certainty. I mean, furthermore, you said atheists have low IQs, which again, that implies a whole lot of certainty here. You're putting on airs, you're laughing and stuff like you don't take them seriously, which I'd say you don't. I'd say that you are the kind of guy to not take anybody seriously that disagrees with you because you're always right about everything. Oh boy, if he ever finds this, I bet that's going to make a great cut for him. He's going to throw that one in there like, see, even the atheists say I'm right about everything. But what I'm saying here is just, as much certainty as that other guy had, I think you've matched it and then some, actually. I don't know why he's pretending so hard is the thing. Why not just be, intellectually honest with yourself and your audience? Why do you have to put on these airs? Well, I know why. It's because acting smug and smarmy is an attention getter. It's a story as old as time. I mean, think about Rush Limbaugh. Many of you out there, you'd probably be too young to remember Rush Limbaugh and what outsized cultural influence he used to have. The guy was smarmy, he was smug, he boasted. He was like Trump before Trump, basically. And way before Trump at that. I mean, when Trump was still a Democrat, Rush was out there being just like what Trump would become in the future. So there is a model for this kind of thing, and this guy matches it to a T. But I don't understand it. Is it really that important to have fame and make money from your dip audience? You can do it in you can probably still make a lot of money from them without this whole act you're doing here. At least I very much hope for your sake it is an act.
God, but the first argument, nobody believes in a sky daddy. That's not a real thing. Those are pictures that people had to represent the thoughts of people. That's A. But B.
I mean, yeah, really, it's more like a sky mommy. It's mothers that do the birthing, at least unless you count trans people, which I'm sure he doesn't. So that's a good point, Clavin. I'm gonna adjust my rhetoric now. It's not sky daddy, it's sky mommy.
The idea that God is anything like me is so far from the truth of my experience that it's just you can't make that argument. And
well, there's something we can all be grateful for.
Third thing is if you can't be certain of what you're saying, of what you think, how does he know there is no God?
I rest my case.
Well, that got me. Yeah. Frank, do you want me to put me over? Yeah, all right. What?
Never.
So how can you be certain? I mean, you did say earlier that you have that you have faith for a reason, that you don't have certainty on anything. So you have faith for a reason. But then you just said you have a relationship with the God of the universe. So tell me, what's his favorite color?
Never mind. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm talking to these people. They're on TikTok. That's that's the end of the conversation. Whether you have 3 minutes in the
Again, this is just more young people bad, young people stupid, just more of that stuff, basically. Old man just see those clouds, ooh, he gets so upset. Oh, things are changing and I don't like it. On a side note, this guy has to be setting some kind of a record for most products sold in a 10-minute video. This is the second set of ads for this same product, and I would not be surprised if there is a third set here in a second, or even a fourth set.
He committed genocide. He endorsed slavery. He's incredibly misogynistic. He views women as property. He curses children for the sins of their parents. He expects and demands to be worshipped and adored. He's xenophobic. He asked a guy to kill his own son to test his faith. He drowned the entire world in a flood because he regretted making humans. He turned a woman to salt because she looked back at her home while it was burning to the ground. He killed his own kid. He's vindictive. He's cannibalistic. He's ableist. He is impatient. He's jealous. He gave women periods and then called them unclean for it.
Ableist kind of stands out here just a little bit among those complaints, doesn't it? Like, if I were to prosecute a case against the God of the universe, ableist wouldn't be on my list. My list would have a whole lot of things, at least as many as that person's list, but ableism, not one of them. When I hear terms like that, now I know it's a valid term that gets valid use. I know what it means. I understand it. As a person who suffers from various health ailments, it also relates to me directly. I am not an able-bodied person, as it were. But whenever I hear ableist, it just strikes me as like anachronistic for the era we live in, where like any vestiges of liberalism are fading as America approaches what resembles a fascist singularity of just Christian nationalism, but that's another rant for another day. I think we all have seen that person around who just like who he's responding to here. Not that one. That's Vince McMahon. I don't know why Vince McMahon is here. I don't think he has any dog in this fight. But the girl there, at least I think that's a girl, but you never know. Could be non-binary. My apologies if so. That's a YouTuber too. Like that person does YouTube videos. I think I saw some of their YouTube videos earlier actually when I was just like browsing along. So we know that person. So that's one of the good ones. One of the good atheists. Like there's only a few of those. But yeah, she's right, completely right about all that. Like that's all correct. So it's very interesting to see how he like responds to this. He's gonna say something mocking, of course. He's just gonna he's gonna say something mocking because that's what he does. So I hope you're all prepared for that. Let's go.
He was special.
He's bloodthirsty. He used
Oh, it wasn't done yet. I thought it was done because, like, yeah, Jesus Christ, dude, he's gonna let it go on and on. He seems very amused by this whole thing. What's so amusing about genocide? Are you pro-life, Mr. Clavin? Because let me tell you something here. Think about how many babies drowned during the global flood. If you say all babies are innocent, that's kind of a problem, isn't it? What's funny about that? I mean, really, what's funny about, like, any of this stuff? This is all very harrowing. You gotta be a real fucking psychopath to think this is funny.
to make people kill animals just so they could be forgiven. He punishes people for not believing in him. He created Satan. He used to make women marry men who assaulted them. The Crusades.
I hate that. I don't like that. He made life, and life sucks because you have to live and do things and feel things and be existing.
Okay, that wasn't the argument that she was making there. The argument was that the character is really nasty. Now, if you wanted to be intellectually dishonest, like our friend Clavin here, you could reduce it to just, ooh, God, a big mean for creating life and making me have to deal with things in it. You could go that route, or you could just be, like, honest for once in your life and actually respond to it like a normal person would, which is to say, yeah, those things are terrible, and here's how I would try to explain them. But no, he's not going to do that, because he doesn't really have any intellectual justification for believing the things he does. He just believes them, no doubt because he was taught them from the time he was a child, brainwashed and such, or by the wider society taught that they were good, that Christianity was good, whatever. But yeah, that's not at all the argument that was being made. It's just that, like, you know, God in the Bible demands things that we humans consider to be wrong, even if we're following his standards. That's a pretty big problem.
Stinks, and things aren't as good as I want them to be, and I blame God, or actually I blame that woman. She's actually,
Okay, again, that is a big reduction to the most absurd elements of what she was saying, but that doesn't actually deal with what she was saying. It's not that, oh, well, this sucks. God is terrible because I wasn't born into a rich family or something. It's more like, how can you justify childhood leukemia? What possibly could justify that kind of suffering anywhere? What could justify that? Or a child dying of starvation somewhere in Africa? What could possibly justify that? That's the question that's really being asked here. It's the person that lets something like that happen when they have the power to change it, to change the conditions responsible for it, is what we would consider a bad person here on Earth. Likewise, what do we consider people when they commit genocides? Well, bad people. Hitler, Milosevic, There's plenty of examples from even recent history that we can point to for people like that. Bad people is what we call them. Monsters. Hitler is the worst comparison that can ever be made. To compare someone to Hitler is to say they are the ultimate evil. We could easily say that the God of the Bible is basically Space Hitler because he eliminates an entire planet. He just decides, well, I gave them free will, and they used it exactly like I knew they would, and this makes me angry. So I'm going to just wipe them out entirely. That's very much like, actually kind of like worse than Hitler. I mean, whatever else you can say about the guy, he didn't create the Jews just to get mad at them for existing. Yeah, I think, like, the whole thing. Of course, if he sees this video again, that's another, like, clip for him to cut, like, oh, you're saying God is worse than Hitler. And yeah, actually, I kind of am. Yeah, Hitler wouldn't have existed without God in the first place. I mean, you ask about evil, like Hitler. I think pretty much everybody can agree, except Nazis, that Hitler is, like, the one example we have of, like, for sure absolute evil that has existed at one point or another. Um, when it comes down to it, you have to wonder, why was evil created in the first place? Evil is not just happenstance. These people think that God created everything. The existence of evil is a problem because if you are God and you don't want something to exist, why create it? Evil, obviously, God says he doesn't like that, and yet we have multiple examples in the Bible of God sending evil, creating evil, demanding evil, so on and so forth. It's a problem. But of course, this guy would never bother to answer serious questions like that because he just wants to go, haha, these angsty atheists, look at them with all their angst. Look at them being all upset at genocide. Aren't they so emotional? Aren't they so silly with their big IQs?
I do have to just a quick piece of theology.
Oh, Lord, a quick piece of theology from this guy. Theology is already advanced cope. I can't imagine what it's going to be coming from this blowhard.
When she said he tested a guy's faith by making him sacrifice his kid, meaning the binding of Isaac by Abraham. He told Abraham, sacrifice your child, and then at the last minute, he told him, no, I'm going to replace your child with a ram, and you can sacrifice that instead. Everybody was sacrificing babies, and so he was teaching Abraham how to use symbolism to please God, and ultimately he taught us that we don't need to sacrifice. We don't need to sacrifice anything. So it's people who are a little slow to learn. It's not God who's slow to teach.
I really hate this style of video where they have like some ADHD stuff playing on the bottom. I guess you got to give it to them that like they know how to get attention. You got to give them to. I mean, this channel has like 700,000 subscribers, so they do know how to get attention. Man, that style is just wildly opportunistic, isn't it? This whole thing he's saying, nonsense.
All right, but I'm sorry she's so angry, and she's probably on having her period. that's.
Yeah, dude, I'm so amused by that. That's such a funny thing to say, such an original thing. You know, nobody's ever made a joke like that before, frequently, day in and day out, that I've had to hear more times than I can count. Again, no doubt this guy would be like, oh, look at atheists being so sour, can't even take a joke. The whole script they use is just so tiring and so boredom-inducing. Like, you think you're having fun. You think you're getting some big troll points with your troll face, and I think the crooked nose does actually add something to that. But really, you just look like a jackass.
That's probably what's bothering her.
I just don't trust anything that bleeds for 5 days and doesn't die.
You rotten guy.
If you say that there is no God, you have to have evidence for that.
Okay. If there really is a God that actually exists, then no one will ever see this video.
What?
Well, we saw it, so I think that's pretty solid proof. There we go. There is no God.
And why? How come these atheists look so unhappy? You know, you ever been to church? Has anybody ever been to church where people like greet each other? They're happy. They sit and talk. They have this kind of confidence. They come out.
Clavin has clearly never been to a Baptist church before, I gotta say. In fact, I'd say probably half the reason I am such a sour person is I grew up in Baptist churches. Now, for anybody who sees this, maybe fans of his, or actually one of his people that wants him to comment on it, I've always been an atheist, but I did come from a super fundamentalist family. I did have to spend a considerable portion against my will in Christian churches, and that's whatever. Who cares? It was just a waste of time. There's not like really anything offensive about it. It's just a waste of my time, which I guess that could be offensive in its own way. But yeah, I'd say that's probably like a large part of the reason why I'm such a sour person. I can't speak for anybody else, but if you're in America at least, well, I'd say those situations can often be very similar. Um, yeah, I'd say a lot of us have suffered in the pews as Baptists. Um, all I can say is, Clavin, stay out of Baptist churches if you don't want to become one of us. And by us, I don't mean atheists. I mean people who never smile.
Out of church, they feel great, and all these people are so, there's no God, and if you believe there is, they'll curse.
Also, before we move on from that last clip, I just want to point out the reversal of burden of proof. I don't have to prove there is no God. You have to prove there is one. The burden of proof lies upon you because you are the one making the claim that God exists. I don't have to prove that God isn't real because you have yet to provide any proof that he is. So, don't shift the burden of proof. That's not how that works. You can't do that.
Everything like that seems like a bad deal, but go ahead.
All right.
So it says, God, when he sacrifices himself to save mankind from himself, and everyone loves it, and he laughs. What can I say?
That's a meme. That's a meme based on a TV show called The Boys, where a person is shocked that people actually appreciate something he did, I guess because he's a bad guy. I don't know. I've never seen the show, or maybe he's just a narcissist or something. But that's the joke. It's like the jokes you were using. It's just like a more modern version of that. It's a joke, my guy. Don't take it so seriously. But that is definitely like a good point, I gotta say.
These guys are just too smart for me. They're just too brainy. They just see too much into the absurdity of faith, the faith that taught them everything they know, the faith that actually is the bottom foundation of all their morality and all the things they blame God for.
Those are some heavy claims, brother. I don't think that religion has anything to do with my morality. I am a hardcore Nietzschean. I reject your values and substitute my own. My worldview is not dependent on Christianity. Yes, there have certainly been a lot of scientists that came from Christianity, especially because it used to be that you couldn't be a scientist without the support, the patronage of the churches. But now things have changed. Science and religion are separate things, and it's good for all of us that they are separate things. Most scientists, it turns out, are indeed too brainy for you because most scientists don't believe in God, or at least not actively like you do. Most scientists, for sure, are not fundamentalists like you most likely are. Even if they are, they probably separate their religion from their science, which is something you can't seem to comprehend so easily.
Are actually things that they learned from Christianity, from one faith. They learned those things. That's why they're who they are. People are created by the culture they're in. Our culture is created by the religion we have, and that is the culture that has grown up out of.
Bro, look, I got a punk shirt. I got a leather jacket. I didn't come from Christianity. I came from punk rock, built different, baby.
Christianity, and they hate God because he's not living up to their idea that he got from God. And they're so smart that they've outsmarted themselves.
No, I don't believe in God. I guess you can hate fictional characters. I can think of some fictional characters I have not liked a whole lot. I think if you've ever seen Better Call Saul, Chuck McGill was pretty high on my list for a while. But then I figured out Chuck McGill was kind of right. And then later on, actually I won't do that. That's a spoiler. I don't want to spoil the show for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. But there are characters in fiction that I have hated, rightfully or wrongfully. But I don't think the God of the Bible qualifies as one of them because, I've just never taken it seriously. Like, I take Better Call Saul very seriously. Despite having a channel about religion, I can't say I've ever taken religion that seriously. No. What I take seriously is people like our friend Clavin here. I take seriously the followers of whichever gods. And it's not just like the Christian one, don't worry. I respond to all kinds of religious stuff. I've responded to Muslims. I've responded to Hindus. I've even done some videos on New Age stuff. So it's not just your God, Claven. It's whatever gods are out there. I'll respond to any of them. I don't discriminate.
Out of all the joy and love and faith that you can get from believing in God. And that's too bad. But that doesn't mean we can't make fun of them, because that's what Jesus said. He said, make fun of your neighbor. Love God, but ridicule your neighbor.
Well, it sounds like a nice guy. At this point, I question any argument Claven makes from any source whatsoever.
Maybe I've got that wrong. I sometimes forget. All right, let's see another.
If I tell my wife, if you...
Oh, it's the homie, Forrest Valkai. I just met him recently. He probably doesn't remember the experience. Actually, I was about to do like an episode of The Line, but I had to quit out before I could do it. That day, actually, because I was being harassed by some people. That's a fun story. And Forrest Valkai ended up subbing for me that day. So shout out to him for that, although he probably doesn't remember our very brief interaction of me saying, "Oh, hi, I think you're awesome." So, but that's our guy, Forrest Valkai. He's one of the best. And he is a real scientist. You could learn something from him, Claven.
You don't love me, I'm going to set you on fire. Am I a loving, good husband?
If you set her on fire, then you never loved her to begin with.
And if God sends us to hell, he never loved us to begin with.
Wrong.
Oh.
Wrong. That's amazing, isn't it? Wow, like what a Chad responding to that one, huh?
Okay.
Okay. Well, first, God doesn't send us to hell. We send ourselves to hell. That's the first.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's a choice anyone would make. If you give people a choice, a straightforward choice of do you want to burn forever or not burn forever, I think literally everyone would choose not burning forever. The thing is, apparently, according to Christians, we only get to make that choice in this life, and the choice isn't burn forever or don't burn forever. The choice is accept that Jesus came and died for your sins, even though there's no evidence whatsoever that happened, or you will burn forever. It's not much of a choice, you know? If you want me to, make a decision and side with you, I want some evidence for the claims you are making. Now, if God really wanted to make sure nobody would ever go to hell, he'd give, individual confirmation to every person that he exists. To have something with penalties that stiff, that severe, I think there should be some kind of incontrovertible, unquestionable evidence that these are your two options. If there isn't that, then I don't think you can justify that punishment set because people don't have the ability to really choose. In any event, they're not going to have that ability anyway. I don't think... I mean, look at it like this. I think if you convinced me that God is real, which if you did, I wouldn't mind admitting it, I would have to say I'm no longer an atheist, because I wouldn't be at that point. But if you convinced me that your God is real, that Jesus is real, all of that, I would not start worshiping them, because I would still think that they're kind of terrible. So, you would say that I have chosen to go to hell. But no, the reality of it is, I have chosen not to break my own values and worship something that I think is bad for things like sending people to hell in the first place. So yeah, even in the case where I knew God was real, unequivocally rejected him, I would still not be choosing hell. That's your narrative. It's not a real one.
Thing. Secondly, I did set my wife on fire. She loved it. She thought that was great. Wow.
Okay, dude, we don't gotta know about your weird sex life, okay? Jesus Christ, why are these dudes so weird all the time?
but these guys are so, they think they're so smart. It is fun,
Yeah, what's your qualification? You've read a book? Well, here, try reading another book.
Just to say, by the way, nobody knows anything about hell or about heaven, really, except that one is good and one is not so good. We don't even know. There's one theory that you basically, if you don't find the eternal part of yourself, you can't live. It's just like if you don't go to the gym, you get flabby. It's like that things have consequences. So we don't know anything about that. But he saw a picture once. Maybe he saw that Mickey Mouse Christmas Carol where the guy goes to hell.
Oh man, I forgot memory unlocked. Oh geez. Wow. I had no idea that was in my memory banks. Well, thank you, Claven. You just trip down memory lane there. I remember there was one in All Dogs Go to Heaven, wasn't there? What, didn't one of didn't something go to hell in that? Yeah, I think so. Wow. Memories unlocked, dude. Whoa, not what I was expecting from Claven. Not that I was expecting much.
And that's what he's talking about. Who knows? What else you got?
God is evil. I've thought that since I was a child.
We had one more to show you, but as she started to say there was no God, she vanished. So I don't know what that's about.
Oh, Lord, he's doing a bit. She goes to hell and all that. Okay, I think that's enough of Claven. I gotta say, though, there's one thing that I do appreciate about this video. It's kind of fun to respond to. I mean, granted, you have to be very reserved in how you respond to something like this. Because if people like this catch wind of what you're doing, they will use any and everything they can against you, which is why I pointed it out several times that they would probably try to do that if they could. So yeah, it's actually kind of fun to respond to. I might have to respond to more of this guy's stuff. I guess he's probably a politics guy. I mean, he has the American flag, not the Christian flag. So he's probably a politics guy that occasionally wanders into religion. So I may check out more. I enjoyed it for what it was, which is to say not a lot. So thanks for that, Claven. And for the rest of you, thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. I hope you have a great one.